Hello, family. I'm already laughing. Welcome to the Quantum Leap Your Life Summit. So grateful to be with you again in this extraordinary activating journey. Today I have my soul sister, Miss Solara Rose. How are you, my love? Thank you for your presence.
Yeah, so thankful to be here with you. Very excited.
Yes. We were just sharing beforehand how, this journey, this Quantum Leap Summit, this Quantum Leap life is all about being a pure transmission. And so we want to invite you on this journey we're going to take today about really feeling the transmission of this energy, receiving the activation, and everything that we're going to be sharing about prosperity and embodying new prosperity consciousness, new paradigms of abundance, and really living in this reality in which you feel peace, presence, trust, as more of your natural state of being, in which flow is really more of your natural state of being. And, Solara is just really, I feel, one of the purest transmissions on this, liquid nirvana and abundance codes that I could possibly imagine. And for those of you that don't know her yet, I can't wait for you to get to meet her and work with her and know her more. She is an international channel and catalyst for high frequency, flow mastery, super abundance, and thriving divine success. She's been described as the modern Tesla of human energetics and a living vortex of cosmic magic. And she really just brings so much integrative personal transformation, integrative science, philosophy, psychology, and all of the different tools that we need in making our quantum leaps. And it's really an honor to share space with you here. And let's just dive right in. Where did the journey with unlocking superabundance really come online for you in your life? Was there a particular awakening moment in which you were like, I can't live in scarcity. Like, that's just not an option. I'm creating my reality here. And, where did that begin for you? Where was the wake up call when it came to awakening abundance fully?
Well, that happened for me probably a good solid 6 or 7 years ago when I was engaged. And my pattern was to overgive, actually. And I was in a situation where I was, the provider, and I was taking care of everything. And I wanted more. I just wanted more. I wanted reciprocity. I wanted more luxury in my life, more travel, more freedom. And I decided that I wasn't going to settle anymore. That was one of the main things. I was like, I'm not going to settle for anything less than the love, the beauty, the abundance, the prosperity that I desire to be experiencing within and without. And so I started to delve into, at that time, it was more about neurological reprogramming. How do I reprogram my mind? How do I use all these different tools? And at that time, EFT was really coming on board. So I was doing a lot of the tapping techniques, just going internal and really learning how to bypass my subconscious programming and powerfully create instantaneous shifts in my consciousness, my awareness, and how to maintain those shifts. And then after that, it was just, finding all the tools that I could find to support that process. So that has expanded and grown and flourished as I have. So that was one of the pivotal moments. And I will say that through every life cycle I go through, it's just always, there's a next level up. There's always more that my soul wants. The more that I am aware of the abundance that is available to us as sovereign divine creators, the more I want to create. And it just excites me. We were sharing about this a little bit before the call, but my ruling sign is all about beauty, wealth, sexuality, abundance. And that, so I've always had like an inherent pull.
For all the Tauruses listening in, this is woman here. And what's a quantum leap? How would you describe that? And how do you understand, quantum leaps kind of factoring into this awakening moment, this ascension moment, this collective invitation we're all in right now, to take responsibility, to be sovereign creators of our own most incredible realities, and really begin to have quantum leaps and all the time as, again, a natural state of being. How do you understand quantum leaps, and how do you maybe, where was your first quantum leap? When was your first quantum leap that you've experienced in your beautiful journey? Because I know that you're just doing it all the time now, but I mean, I know for me, there's like a pivotal moment where it's like, is this real? Is this possible? Can this be true? And so I'd love to know your definition of how you understand quantum leaps and when your journey with that began.
So quantum leaps for me are about opening new portals through choice. So it's really about making a decision, for starters, about what I want to experience and live in and select next. And then I go into the visionary space and I open up a whole new portal, a whole new space for that timeline, that world. And I start aligning my vision with it, my thoughts, my words, my actions. Everything starts to fall into deep integrity with that timeline. So I start charging it up. And the key with a quantum leap is it's that we have the capacity to do this in every moment of our lives. It's really about making a choice in the here and now, and then staying in integrity with that choice. So the moment we decide to let go of that old reality and expand into a new one, we choose it, and then we just charge it up, start really charging it up. The frequencies in it, turning up the volume on high, the colors, bringing them into high HD, and then following through on the intuitive guidance that comes through to help us to close the gap on that timeline and really pull it into the now. And the more we charge our vibrational currency around those new timelines, the more miraculous, truly like miracles start to land in our reality. Like, oh, here's this person, and here's this resource, and here's this new creative technology that are all helping you to actualize and materialize and land in that reality. And it just happens so fast.
Yes, collapsing time and space. So any former idea of like, well, it has to take about a year because I need to figure out how to save all this money in order to do the thing I want and then leave my job, and then it's going to take this whole timeline and all these different things need to happen. It's like, the mind would say something like that. Whereas when you're in your, in that feeling state of turning up the volume, turning up the color of what is it that you desire? What is it that you really, really want? What is it that would feel incredible? And spending your energy in just like totally luxuriating in that possibility, using your imagination, dreaming about it, feeling it, turning on the senses about, what's it like when you're already living there, receiving whatever it is you want now. And, having that be your predominant way in which you're utilizing your energy, then life is aligning to support you in experiencing that reality now, and faster than you could have ever planned intellectually or, with a strategy or a structure, so at first though, there's a big shift, I think, required in order to fully adjust into that new state of being. I know for me, some of my first quantum leaps were around healing massive scarcity consciousness that I held on to, and took the form of doing something really terrifying, actually, to kind of snap me out of my old paradigm, to snap me into the new one, which involved more abundance and trust and all the things that I wanted, more opportunities to share my mission powerfully and visibly, and to feel like really embodied and authentic. And it involves investing in myself at a really scary level at first. That was what initiated one of my first quantum leaps in receiving, like 5x, 10x the amount of income I was, I had a capacity to hold at that time. And I'm curious if for you, in the earlier stages of your journey, if you could recall, a moment like that where you were, you knew you were getting ready for a quantum leap, but it required you to do something really, it required you to surrender maybe an old identity or an old part of yourself that felt really terrifying to let go of.
Yeah, so first I just want to say thank you for your luscious description of collapsing timelines, because that's exactly what it is, and just spending all that time luxuriating in the visionary space and cultivating those new frequencies and charges and all the other good and then it just lands. And my first significant quantum leap, I was required to let go of my relationship, and so I made some pretty big, bold power moves, and I decided, and I knew that I had to cut the cord, and I just had to make the choice and go and to shift into a new reality. So a lot of deep deep cleansing and clearing. I mean, a lot of it was emotional cleansing. So I allowed myself to just really, after I left that situation, just cry from my gut and let those tears, renew me and cleanse me and purify me. I went through a fasting phase after that, did a lot of deep meditation with no thought, no mind, before I started charging up the new vision. So I had to, I took, I made some really big decisions, and I left a lot of that behind to shift into my new reality and into my new identity. And after that happened, I had all these ideas come through for my very first program, which was actually called Heaven to Earth, in my business. And when I did that, and I started cultivating the frequencies that were aligned to what I knew to be true, independent of that old identity, and the relationship that was just a reflection of that identity. And I went from making about $2,000 a month in my business to creating my first $26,000 month. So these were massive shifts, but I was also willing to let go of a lot. So I think that the key piece here, and one of the steps I guide my clients through, that can be one of the more difficult things, is to let go and get really pure and really clear, and to create that space for the newness to come in, and get into that integral alignment with the new vision, and to let go of all the pieces, places, spaces, relationships, habits, all of that don't align to the new reality, so that you can, shift into living your dreams. And so, and that process has been ongoing. So I'll say through every quantum leap that I experience, there's always a little bit more of a pattern that I maybe wasn't aware of fully, that, it's revealed, and then I release it. And now it feels more beautiful to me than it used to. Like, I find beauty in it because I understand it at a deeper core level now. Then it was terrifying to make those choices.
Yes.
Just absolutely terrifying, not, knowing how to find my own core, and all of that, and having to surrender into, the beautiful, deep blue mystic ocean of trust, and learn how to cultivate those frequencies before I had any solid ground to even stand on, just trusting the complete unknown, trusting not knowing what was next or how it was going to all come to fruition, but my intuition saying it was. And, and then all the people and voices around me being like, what are you doing?
Yes.
I'm trusting my intuition, and that pull, that the strength of that pull was so much more potent than anything else around me. It's the sovereignty and just trusting it and going with it. And
such an initiation. And I'm just remembering too, like at that point, I was describing one of my first, I've actually had, there are earlier quantum leaps, but the one that I like to, for the purposes of our prosperity conversation, at the time where I was invited into a similarly, 10x revenue type of quantum leap, which is always fun because it's like the hold it in your hand evidence of like, oh my God, I created all this money. This is incredible. But really it was a reflection of all the internal realignment that happened along the lines of trust and, again, intuition, being fully empowered to, lead. And at the time though, it felt reckless, because what was happening was I was reprogramming, the mental reprogramming that happens. It doesn't happen like sitting down in meditation and reprogramming the mind. For me, it happened through action. Like my mind was set on, this one reality in which things had to happen in this very familiar, safe way. Again, just safety meaning it's familiar. This is the way I've always done it. Whereas my soul and my intuition at a certain point was like, you're not serving your full purpose. You're not serving your full potential. This is really not, you're stagnant. You're not really moving. You're not moving the needle. And this is going to actually at some level kill you because you're repressing your natural energy that wants to flow. You're not letting it expand. You're not letting yourself be out there, because I was so afraid of actually being seen, that was really like the main thing I've always wanted. But I was so afraid of what people were going to think of me and if they were going to understand. And, I was carrying so much shame. I was carrying all these like old, really low energies in my system, blocking my very natural light from fully shining, from radiating as this magnetic presence, that just wants to receive and give and receive. And so I remember at the time, and for anybody listening, it's like, oh my God, the quantum leap feels like it's here now. You're at a jump off point, you want to leave the job, or, you want to leave the relationship or start a new one, start something new. Right. And in order to start the new thing or welcome in the new thing, what is it that you're being called to let go of? And letting go of that might feel reckless, might feel terrifying. Your mind might give you all sorts of reasons as to why that's going to kill you, because maybe the part of you that needed to be alive to like settle for that less than, you know, wonderful experience is going to have to die, like is going to be let go of in order for you to exist in and receive this new abundant reality, which I think comes online much more simply. Like there's not even a needing to make anything happen or needing to like go get something out here. I feel again and again that this abundant state of being that we're, you know, being called into fully, it's already here now. It's a question of like, what is it that you're needing to release and clear and let go of that's hindering you from being able to fully be present and receive everything that's already around you. So I feel like that's another paradigm orientation. You know, we talk a lot about this in the summit, like letting go of a future conditional happiness. Like, oh, when I'm in the future at this point, when I have it all, then I can be happy. It's actually opposite. How can I be fully open and present to receiving all of the bliss and joy and abundance and just satiating all of this now, right now? You know, and I know that you're like a total expert on that. I'd love to know more about like this liquid nirvana and this like notion of luxuriating in the present moment. You know, how can we cultivate more of that essence, that energy, which is really a key to unlocking more abundance?
Well, there's a piece around luxuriating fully in the present moment, but what I have found to create exponential leaps is luxuriating in the vision. So carrying the codes of the vision into the present moment and living in them before it's fully actualized. So this is something I learned how to do when I did not have much at all. And I literally, you know, so my surroundings at the time, I didn't even really have anything to luxuriate in except for my vision. And so I learned the art and the mastery of this at that point in time. So I allowed myself to receive the codes for the vision. And this is where trust is really important, because this goes against so much of what your logical mind will tell you. And so it's cultivating that clear wireless connection to source and the field, the fabric of infinite universal abundance, superabundance, and knowing that by cultivating the frequencies of that in your body and keeping the dialogue open between you and source and continuing to flow and course that in the visionary space, what you're doing is you're bringing it alive in your current reality, so that that leap, that transition, that shift into a new timeline, an alternate universe can happen more quickly, independent of what you might even perceive as possible for you. And then allowing that. So melting into the feeling of trust, melting into the feeling of, you know, source is your companion, your best friend, your lover, your genie in a bottle, you're all of these things. You know, this is your higher self, your genius, your soul, and it is there for you unconditionally. So trusting that connection primarily, and cultivating your sovereign connection to it, and building that up, and then allowing too is such a huge piece of this. So there's, you know, it's primarily letting go of the fear that we don't have something that's already ours and that's already here. The fear that that timeline is somehow separate from us, the fear that we might not get it or that we might not be valuable enough to receive it, and allow yourself to have it, because your higher self is the one giving it to you. So it's like, why would I not allow my higher self or my soul or my, you know, why would I not allow myself to have this beautiful, luxuriant, rich, wealthy, opulent lifestyle that I desire on all levels?
Yes. You wouldn't be desiring it. You wouldn't, this is really important. Thank you for this reflection. You wouldn't have the desire in the first place if you were not meant to receive it. Like your desires are not random. You wouldn't even have the ideas that you have, the imagination about your wildest dreams. You wouldn't be having those specific desires if you weren't meant to actualize them. They're yours. They're for you to receive.
Yeah. And it's the impulse of life too, to always be expanding and flourishing into more life, more expression, more abundance, more beauty, more prosperity, all of this. And actually, one of the interesting insights that channeled through earlier today as I was just getting ready was that it's an act of humility to desire more. Because it's in service to life, it's in service to our soul's purpose, our soul's mission, it's in service to the respect that we have for ourselves, and bringing more more flourishing to the planet. You know, if we don't desire more and want more and move into more and thrive into more and live into more, then we're stunting the growth and the expansion of our own being, of life. And eventually that will get too strong. There will be too much friction to not want more, desire more, you know. So allowing that to be fun. So it's like the way my vision is always like looking into what's the next portal I can activate? What's the next, you know, like loving and honoring and cherishing and appreciating this, but it's like an ongoing adventure of, okay, like what, you know, storybook page can we open next? Which landscape can we transition into? What really amazing people can we co-create with, you know, all of this, and to just keep the imagination and the visionary space open to possibility so that we can continuously be in motion and continuously thriving and flourishing into our next vision, because that impulse of life is natural and inherent to us. So instead of letting the friction build up, find the exhilaration of the continual motion into your next level, or your next timeline, or, you know, how
what feels fun, what feels most fun, what feels expansive, you know, like, how are you feeling within your life right now and the choices that you have? Because all of your life is just made up of one choice after the next. And is the choice to move into expansion, into love, into desire, into feeling how you want to feel? Or is it contracted? Is it whatever scary feelings? And then something that comes to mind too is how feelings of fear might easily be confused with actually feelings of anticipation and excitement, which is like, I find a really interesting distinction, because actually following your highest excitement is such a visionary, you know, activator of like this abundance and quantum leaping, but it might have a resonance of fear, or, you know, an anxiety even, and there's something unraveling there. I'm curious if you can speak a little bit more to that, like the distinction between fear, anxiety, and excitement, and how someone may be able to navigate and choose the underlying excitement and love and expansiveness that's actually calling them into their new vision.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, so as you were speaking, they were showing me an image of a roller coaster going over that initial hill, where it's like the anticipation of going up, and you're like, but then it's the exhilaration, and you're just flying, and you're soaring, and so it's the exact same frequency, but it's our thoughts around whatever's occurring in our life that is the big difference between whether it translates as a fear-based, you know, becomes a fear-based reality, or an exhilarating, high-frequency, loving, you know, reality, exciting reality. So if we can switch our perception around the feeling, then it can easily shift from fear into excitement and exhilaration, and just looking at it differently. So what are we observing when we're feeling that frequency?
How does one begin to cultivate that discernment? I mean, I know there's a multi-layered process that comes to mind, but I'm curious if there's any, you know, kind of a top line suggestion that you have that comes to mind for that.
Well, so okay, so I'll just use a really real example that's happening in my life right now.
Perfect.
So I'm being guided to create this really massive program and this massive offering. And, you know, I've heard people speak to flow before, and they talk about, you know, always driving into your next challenge and attacking life and all of this. And it's kind of a more penetrative heart. It's hard. It has like a hard edge to it, to me, in the energy. And it's almost like,
has a hustle energy, like gotta hustle for it and like work for it, and it's kind of counterintuitive to flow.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating when I was tuning into that, because I really absolutely respect the person and think they're brilliant, but it was fascinating because I was looking at the energetics around it, and I was like, oh, that actually would create more pressure, more tension, more friction, and ultimately more overwhelm as one steps into that new space. So, but those were some of the things that came up for me, because I was like, there's so much here, and I know that every single day I need to be devoting my energy and my attention and my love and all of this to this container, to this creation. However, what I decided to do, I just looked at the whole thing and I said, you know what, this is massive, yes, and how beautiful. I get to be in the creation of this every day, you know, for the next month, instead of it being like a 1 or 2 day or 1 week creation. I get a whole month to luxuriate in the beauty of this, to grow it, to build it, to nourish it, to just be in the container of it, and be in the excitement of all the different dynamic pieces of it. And so I just lightening the energy, lightening, I love that, the energy around it, and just going into it from a space of pure inspiration, instead of push or drive, because the other one was creating a feeling of, in me, overwhelm, because I was looking at the magnitude of it, and now I'm just like, but you know what, we can just take this day by day and enjoy and savor the beauty and the richness of the entire journey. And every time you go into creation mode, you can just put on your favorite music and have a blast, just have a ball creating. Let it be fun, let it be exciting, let it be, you know, and we're speaking to this too. It's like building a house, you know, and you think about the rigorous work of putting up the foundations of that house before you actually, you know, experience the finished product of the paint on the walls and the, you know, beautiful radiant furniture and, you know, the plush velvet sofas and chairs and silk sheets and all of this. But while you're building the foundation, you know, what if you gathered some of your favorite friends and artists and people who are just masterful at what they do? And what if you had, you know, took breaks for lunch every day and you got to have like a beautiful space to nourish your bodies, and you played music the whole time, and you looked at it like a sport or a fun activity that was going to help your body get more fit, you know? So it's the way that we're observing the thing that needs to be done that creates the, you know, the feeling that we move into it with. And therefore then the energy that is translated into the creation itself, which is actually a huge piece of the service that we're offering, is what energy are we even translating through our creations, because that energy acts as an activation, it acts as coding. It activates new codes in people. So are we activating more stress, more duty, more you know, push, more struggle, more overwhelm, or are we activating more pleasure, more joy, more inspiration, more freedom, more creativity, you know, all of that? And so it's a really important thing to look at. How are we even moving into what we're called to create and design and give and share? And, you know, it's like having a love affair with life. It's the journey. It's being in love with the experience. You know, it's not really to just get to the orgasm. It's like, can the whole thing feel like an orgasm? Can there be foreplay? And can there be, you know, like the lusty, fiery part of making love before you get there? I mean, that's the beauty of the journey. And so, it's about like the perceptions that we have towards some of these things. And, you know, So shifting out of fear. Let me think of like a really fast quantum way to shift out of fear. Well, one, it's going directly to your connection with source, and remembering that source is an unconditionally loving source, and you are held and you are guided and you are protected and you are provided in all of this. And it's just allowing all the other voices, all the other codes, all the other stories to kind of melt out of your periphery and welcome in more of that light. So allow it in. This is a huge piece. We've got to let that love in so that we can remember what it feels like and who we really are. So the letting it in piece is huge. Allowing is huge so that we can resonate it out fully. And that can be scary, you know, to like lean into that and to learn to trust it.
Yeah, it brings up so much with I just keep thinking of how challenging it is at the beginning of this, you know, quantum leap kind of shift into this new superabundance reality. It's like receiving and allowing can be some of the biggest, you know, transformations I think that anybody can go through, and really surrendering what can often be an addiction to needing to control outcomes and needing to know what's going to think you know what's going to happen in the future so you can feel safe now, and just surrendering to the great unknown, because we actually never know anything anyway. It's an illusion to think that we know, even if we're, you know, psychics. We still have, you know, all these other elements of life that are wanting to surprise us and support us in miraculous ways and synchronistic ways beyond anything we could have ever planned. and yet receiving and allowing, how does one begin to become really comfortable, or to even just start to practice receiving and allowing life to support you? If you've been living your whole life thinking you got to work hard and try hard and hustle harder and make things happen, if you don't do something, nothing's gonna happen. You know, how does one start to become more comfortable with receiving and allowing and letting go of this control of future outcomes? You know, that's like a massive question.
Yeah. Well, first I would say disconnect from the mass matrix of cultural, familial programming. And so, and this is where my high priestess is wanting to come through, because there's an element of knowing and not knowing that occurs simultaneously in this space. So the knowing is an absolute, supreme, ultimate knowing of truth, of self, of source, of abundance, of what the result is going to be, what we are going to be experiencing. The unknown is the how, and all the pieces in between that link us to those realities, to that place and space within ourselves. And so the exhilaration for me always came in knowing the end result, knowing where I was going, knowing where I was being guided to, and not knowing all the steps in between, not knowing, you know, the exponential versus the linear reality. I mean, we live in an exponential world now. We're all starting to awaken and arise into these timelines. So they're going to have to be released on a more mass scale the more this accelerates. But you wouldn't want to know anyways, because that's when life gets stagnant and that's when life gets boring. When you know the next logical linear step and you've got, you know, things, it doesn't leave room for passion and excitement and freshness and beauty and all of that. But that is what I have found. And so for me, it's like releasing even the desire to want to know what all those in-between steps are, because my higher self always blows me away. I'm always like, well done. Well done. Like, I could not have imagined that into being. But what I could imagine was, you know, the end result that I wanted to be experiencing, or the energies of superabundance. And even that is always more grand than what I picture, and oftentimes moves me to tears of deep gratitude and appreciation. Because I mean, I remember the first time that I went to my first luxury retreat, I cried for 30 minutes because there was so much warmth. There was so much just, wow, this is available. And somehow my soul lined me up with all of this. And how can I create more of this? How can I experience more? How can I give this to other people? How can I share with them how to cultivate and create these spaces? And, you know, that all of that, you know, the leaps in income, the leaps in environment, and all of that, they're in relationships, you know, the people I was aligning with, just knowing that I was able to create and open these portals to these entirely new realities so rapidly. We're talking within like a month's time frame. This is not, you know, the 3-year plan, the 10-year plan. And just knowing that that was available and possible, each time I did that, the fear started to go away and the exhilaration was more there, and the trust just became so anchored in. So eventually all of that kind of starts to disintegrate and dissolve. And, you know, and this is another thing that has helped to create sovereignty too, is, you know, the quotes coming through now is, those who hear not the music think the dancer's mad. I didn't even care anymore. I was like, it doesn't even matter to me if anyone thinks that I'm crazy, because I'm about to align with the timeline. And then they see it and they're like, wow. And so, you know, then the people around me started to, what are you doing? You know,
I resonate with this. What's going on over here? This feels good.
Yeah, that too. Well, yeah, and just even seeing the massive leaps that I was able to take in my life in such a short time, and accelerating, you know, even, and I mean, not as a comparison, but just even people in my own field that had taken, you know, 6-7 years to cultivate what I was able to cultivate in a 2-year time frame. But what I'm looking at with that is the timeline. Like, this is possible to make these exponential leaps. We don't have to do it the way it's always been done. There's these more magical, activated pathways that are available to us as divine creators. And this, we all have access to this, you know, even people who've been in business doing things a certain way for a long time, you know?
Yes. It's a grand
Yeah.
equalizer. We all have such a beautiful, equal, expansive array of opportunities to cultivate infinite abundance. And really, it
Yeah.
starts with this present moment focus of your
Mm.
energy into receiving and feeling so grateful for everything that you have around you now. You know, nothing that you have around you in this moment is by mistake. It's all perfect. You know, how is your life a perfect gift reflecting back to you right now everything that you've actually asked for? And if there's
Mm-hmm.
anything that's not in alignment, that's not serving your highest good, that doesn't feel good, why are you holding on to it? Let it go. Let it go and
Yeah.
create space for something new to very naturally emerge. And then cultivating daily practice, moment to moment practice of like feeling into your future vision, feeling into the desire that's like leading you into this next growing edge, this next leap, this next expansion, and feeling how luxurious and beautiful and just like delicious and gorgeous that all feels, and just taking it in, feeling it in every single cell of your body, how extraordinary it is to be living the way that you want to live, to be feeling the way you want to feel, to be creating what you want to create, you know, and not worrying about anything at all, especially how you're going to get there. You know, that's not up to you. That's actually not up to you. That's like the slow route. It would be trying to figure out all of those pieces. It's like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
focus on your desire, focus on attuning those good feelings, focus on attuning to more. I mean, really, for me, it all comes down to love. You know, how are you loving yourself and loving yourself so much that you give yourself that nourishment of spending time in your desires and feeling worthy of your desires? You know, how are you supporting yourself to fully receive yourself? Actually, I think that's what the
Yeah.
receiving is about. It's like, can you receive how amazing you are? Can you feel how incredible it is to be you right now? I mean, that can
Yeah.
be overwhelming. But I know for me, that's actually been a growing edge, is like, wow, to fully feel this power wanting to move through, to fully feel my incredible aliveness can feel overwhelming, can feel like actually terrifying, I think, at times.
Yeah. Well, it's ecstasy. I mean,
Mhm.
let's just go down the psychedelic path for a moment. It's like,
Yeah, my
well,
favorite psychedelic.
because it's a great example of this. It's like, you know, there are moments, I mean, the first, just to be fully transparent, the first psychedelic that I ever tried was DMT, and I went straight home. I went
Mhm.
straight to that unified field. But there have been other psychedelic journeys that I have taken where I discovered a lot of my fears.
Mhm.
And I was so sensitive with the actual power and ecstasy of my being moving through me that it arose with a lot of those fears. And I was shown where I was afraid of embodying that fully, resonating that fully, my sensitivity to it. How could I resonate that in a way of integrity and strength and not be so sensitive to
Mhm.
all the energies and frequencies that weren't that? And I imagine they're even just guiding me to your book right now. How, what to do when you feel it all?
What do we do
Because
when we feel everything? Oh my God.
it's that frequency is in such a stark contrast to a lot of what we are
Mhm.
can be, if we select it, exposed to in modern society, which I know is what we're all here doing, trying to we're powerfully grounding in and anchoring these codes in
Yes.
so that we can all experience them more cohesively, more fluidly, presently, consistently. And it's a lot to feel that much passion, that much fire, that much ecstasy, the just even the flowering of that energy opening up inside of your body, and the way that it just lovingly commands that you open wide and full and absolute trust to all that you are, beyond borders, beyond boundaries. And that can be a space of vulnerability that happens in there. And I mean, I feel like every time we go through an expansion, that's really the core of what the vulnerability is, and the letting go. It's letting go of borders, of boundaries, of restriction, constriction, control, and opening even wider than we ever have before. And so it's like we're exposing new parts of ourselves. We're being more naked. We're being more expressed. And so those parts that have been covered in a space of perceived safety now actually get to open into a space of true safety. And it can feel a little bit, unsettling as we get used to being that open, being that naked, being that happy.
Learning to fly. It's like
Yes.
learning to swim, learning to fly, learning to drive a motorbike. It's just like, okay, time to do it. Time to get the
Yeah.
license so that this becomes like, I'm just remembering, funny enough, like remembering how to drive a motorbike or remembering how to drive a car. And at first it's like, what is this? This is so weird. And then at a certain point, it's like, this is totally normal, but you're driving this like massive machine that could like kill people and is like so intense and has all of this advanced capability, but it's like, we're not even thinking about it anymore because it just is. It's just the way that it goes. You just hop in and go. And, this is, I think, a good metaphor for quantum leaping and this imprinting, that at the beginning of the journey can feel like, oh my God, I have to practice and I have to do all these lessons and I'm going through these discomforts and it's awkward at times. And then at a certain point, it's like, oh wait, I can't believe I ever used to like take the bus or walk because it takes so long to go the same distance. Like, why would I have ever done that? So I love that. That's a fun reminder. What do you feel is, or go ahead, do you have something else you want to share?
Well, it's interesting because what I was seeing as you were speaking to that is what we actually open up to energetically on a vibrational level is driving and steering the collective ship of consciousness. Because as we expand into more of ourselves, we become the guiding, leading energy of just all energy and consciousness because we're more self-aware, we're just more awakened. And so that just becomes naturally, as a natural organic process beyond ego identifications or paradigms of the mind. It's just you become the more predominant force and your energy starts to steer the ship. And I know at times I've been like feeling the enormity of even that responsibility to now be impeccable with my own alignment because there's once you're aware of yourself and all of that, that's really the call and the responsibilities. Then keep that open, keep it expanded, hold that container of value and of love and beauty and prosperity and abundance for the collective we.
Yes.
So it's an interesting thing might be, you think about holding a container for a course or an offering or a program or a workshop, and holding that space. We're really holding the space for the collective to allow itself
yes.
to allow itself to hold that space of it's safe to let go and open and trust and let yourself receive yourself fully, the glory, the beauty, the greatness, the excellence, the magnificence, the ecstasy of all that you are, and resonate it and express it and share it and all of that.
Just breathing that all in. Everybody listening, take a big deep breath. It feels so good. Yes, because the more that you trust your own desire and live in your desire, you can't help but naturally be of service to everyone else living in their desire too, and living in their being in permission to feel their desires. It's like you are an example of what it's like to live in this reality, to live in this imprint, right, that everybody actually has access to. And I love how, living in your desire is really like the shortcut to having great boundaries, having aligned relationships, having your life just come into total alignment and really being in very clear resonance with what is meant for you, and conversely what is not. It will fall away the more that you attune with what is it that you really want, and drop any old conditioning of people pleasing, or I need to do what other people want, or I need to do things for other people so that insert blank, and the more that you're just fully receiving yourself, what is it that you want, what is it that you need, every single time you naturally create space for other people to choose what they want. And it creates this harmony. Perfect example is, all last week on the summit, had some interviews planned with other people, and we were just going through it. There's like a collective purging and recalibration and all sorts of awkward energy, and people were just feeling all sorts of ways, and it just didn't feel fully aligned to do the summit interviews, right, which are like highly activating, like very powerful transmissions, and people are like, I'm just not feeling it right now. And I could feel in numerous conversations where people felt, they're honoring their desire, I don't feel like it, and then they would also note, well, listen, if you really need to do this, and I committed to the time, I understand, but I don't feel fully present in this moment, but if you need me to be, I can try. And it was just a great mirror to see, like, well, wait a minute, actually, all the people, when they say, I don't feel like this right now, it was a perfect invitation for me to be like, oh my God, you're right. This isn't the timing to do it. This isn't the right time. Let's reschedule to a time where you feel great, and where I know I'll also feel even better knowing that you feel awesome and ready to co-create. And it's like we're all just waiting to give each other and give ourselves permission to do what it is we want. Like usually when you want to cancel something, the other people involved like don't want to do it either. And everyone's just waiting for the first person to like break the plan.
Sometimes they just do it etherically, because this is for the same reason, because if it's not in harmony or resonance for you, then it's not for anybody else either. It's okay to honor that.
It's all connected. So I would love to know if you feel inspired to share a particular activation or guidance, tangible guidance, practical guidance that everyone listening can take with them in their lives now to cultivate quantum leaps and abundance and prosperity and beautiful, luxuriating presence.
Yeah, let me feel into it. So my activations are really thorough. So we would literally be here for another good 20 to 30 minutes. They keep taking me to the space of the mind, actually, which is, and I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because so much of this is frequentially based, but I'm just going to flow with the mind. And so now my guides are taking me to the space of unification. So this is one way to overcome duality, is to unify the mind in absolute superabundance. So choosing to perceive that superabundance and prosperity is all that is, and getting our narrative on board with that reality. So something that's been coming up in the collective lately is language. And even as teachers, healers, leaders, guides, there's a lot of places and spaces where we give attention, energy, focus, concentration, activation to pain patterns, fear, all of that. And we charge them up as a way of connecting with one another, as a way of relating, and it keeps those narratives going. And one of the most fundamental pieces of revealing nirvana on earth, because it is already here, is to start observing it, to start seeing it, regardless of what your mind is telling you that you're looking at, choosing to observe the reality of soul, of opulence, of prosperity, of abundance, and utilizing our mind and the story that we're telling from moment to moment as a tool, as a technology, to start authoring these new narratives in, to start restoring the narrative of who and what we truly are. And so starting to really zone into the space of, what story am I telling in the here and now? What story is my consciousness perpetuating? What am I speaking to in my mind about this person, about this reality, about my own body, my own self, my own financial situation, and start charging up new narratives. So if you want to grow your finances, a great thing to do is just start getting into the space of excitement and have a really like lusty, romantic, optimistic relationship with your finances. And just, my bank account is growing every single day, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, depending on where you are and how big your abundance field and frequency is. Start charging up those new narratives, start telling them in your mind, and get into your visionary space and start seeing those, virtual numbers. Essentially, money is primarily etheric energy at this point. I mean, it is in general, but
even more so now, it's like, we're all just using cryptocurrency eventually.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to create a shift in a relationship, in your life, in your reality, start charging up a new narrative. Tell the narrative about, yourself, about the people in your life, of their higher self, of their soul. And so start speaking it, thinking it, feeling it differently. Tangible, practical things. Start treating yourself like the god and the goddess, the priest, the priestess, the king, the queen, the royalty, the majesty, the brilliance that you are. You are literally starlight in human form, raw, radiant, energetic potential in human form, and you're here to create, to express. So to start looking at yourself as the royal masterpiece that you are, start to treat yourself with that level of love and respect and nourishment and quality care and kindness, and really give that to yourself, and know that that is the most important space in creation, is to start going into the visionary space and seeing yourself differently, receiving yourself differently as royalty, as majesty, as pure energetic power and potential, as light, as source embodied. And allow yourself to view your brothers and sisters that way. And in your life, you know, everything around us is vital living consciousness. Can we start to see it that way? Can we start to program and imprint these codes into our reality from moment to moment to moment, so the narrative piece is coming through strong? And, you know, that's active as we do it in every moment, giving thanks. Thanks, you know, thank you for this gorgeous waterfall just, you know, pouring over me as I bathe. And thank you for this delicious food that I get to eat in this present moment. And thank you for this delicious, energizing, activating conversation that I get to have with my soul sister, and all of the beautiful, you know, family that's plugged into it and tuned into it right now. And starting to observe these new portals, these new earths, these new realities and new timelines, and to fiercely, devoutly activate them, and to stop giving attention to these old paradigms and these old realities that we no longer want to co-create. Because what happens the moment we pivot our attention and our focus, one, we change our point of attraction, we become magnetic to the new reality and all the things that we're cultivating within it, and we get to just let go of the old realities. And that's where the empowerment comes in. The moment we let go is the moment those realities start to actually dissolve. And it can be that simple, to just start making these shifts, and then the real devotion comes in, is in maintaining them and choosing to not select the old paradigms, the old programs any longer within our own consciousness, within our creations, within society as a whole. All of us contributing to these new narratives, so that it becomes much more effortless on a grand scale for us to maintain these shifts. But all it takes is a decision and a choice, and to stay in the new timelines and the new realities, and to continue flourishing and living into them. And then, of course, actions that honor those realities, those timelines. What is it like to nourish my body fully and truly, to luxuriate myself, to go deep, to love, to make love to myself, to make love to the experience, to really drop in and get present with, you know, the people I'm interacting with, to get present with my creations, and to just savor and enjoy all of it, and to follow through on our intuition in the moment, and to trust it, no matter how left of center it sounds. You know, all of that, just trusting from moment to moment, and taking those guided action steps, and knowing that each one of those are the how. That's the how. You know, the how is being revealed to you in every moment. You get this intuitive insight to go connect with this person, or to channel through this share, or, you know, this new creation, and to just move into it. Fearless, uninhibited, unfiltered. Just go. Just go and trust.
Let's
and
jump
have
and
fun.
fly.
Yeah. And just play with your creation, dance with your creation, enjoy it, and supercharge a new narrative.
Beautiful, beautiful. Play. This is all about play. Have fun. Where can you have more fun in your life? You know, where can you have more fun? Fun and play naturally beget expansion, beget magnetism, beget joy, which is all abundance is, right? And the material abundance is just a facet of this internal abundance that naturally wants to just radiate as the being, as this divine being that you are. Oh, I received so much of everything you just shared, and I'm just feeling that fully radiating and landing in. It feels so beautiful. I know that everybody listening in is like feeling this upgrade, embodying, and I welcome you all listening in. If you feel a resonance with everything we've delved into today, that you get in touch with Solara, and, you know, receive her beautiful transmissions. And where can everybody connect with you? And do you have any special invitations you'd like to make available to people that want to play with you more?
Yeah, of course. Well, the first place you can visit is solararose.com is my website. And just to let you know, I have a wonderful team of artists that I'm working with. So we're redesigning everything, and the
No.
programs are going to come through, fully activated vision for those courses and programs. So if you want more details around that, it would be best to schedule a connection call so that we can just. There you are. You were frozen for a moment.
Oh, that's our little Bali magic probably
Yeah.
happening. So just go
Yeah,
ahead.
I
You
was just
have
checking
your
in.
you have your beautiful website, solararose.com, and people can go there and schedule a exploration call with you to see ways in which you could be able to support them. And you have so many amazing programs. And I've actually worked with you as well with did the energy activation, and it was so beautiful, so supportive. I honor you in the space that you hold. It really allowed me just space. Sometimes I need just the space to hear myself, to hear my truth, to see my truth. And you really hold a masterful space and are such a beautiful mirror for me personally. And I know so many others as well, to just be able to fully feel what wants to be birthed and feel what wants to be shared. I really am so grateful for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my honor. Yeah, I'm just opening up the space for us all to experience
Yes.
who we are and what's already here.
Right, exactly. That's all it is. That's it. And we have a special magic creation, I think, coming too. We'll just leave it at that. A little tease, little opportunity to play with us both in person, somewhere magical and fantastic, coming very soon.
Oh, my heart. I'm so excited. I mean, just the beauty and the tranquility and the luxury and the power that's
Yes,
there.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
So
yes.
excited.
Yeah, come on our roller coaster.
Yeah.
Roller coaster of love.
If you're gonna go on a roller coaster, this is the one.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you, sister. Love you so much. Thank you
Oh,
for sharing your magic with us. Thank you. Thank
yeah, I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you for creating these powerful containers and portals for all of us to flow and share and express and amplify and all of that. So yeah.
It's time. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. And for those of you all tuning in, just feeling the call to take another big deep breath and just anchor this all into every single cell of your being, feeling how beautiful it feels to just luxuriate in this pure presence, feeling so connected to all the beautiful soul family tuning in alongside of you, receiving these incredible consciousness upgrades to embody your highest self now, feeling all of your desires just magnetizing with so much ease, with effortlessness, with so much grace, better than you could have ever imagined. Having the most fun, having the most joyful, abundantly expressed, beautiful, present moment imaginable. It's just such an honor to be connected with you all. So grateful for you to be on this journey. I love you. We love you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, family.